Welcome back to Z Coins. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of Washington quarters. While most quarters are worth just 25 cents, some rare gems can fetch thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's explore the top 9 most valuable Washington quarter dollar coins that could be hiding in your collection. We are diving deep into a coin that might just be hiding in your pocket or coin jar right now, and believe it or not, it could be worth a lot more than just 25 cents. I am talking about the 1966 Washington quarter. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you might just be checking all your old change. Let us start with a little background. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. It was supposed to be a one-year design, but it was so popular that it became the standard quarter design moving forward. Fast forward to 1966, the United States was in the middle of a coin shortage. The U.S. Mint had already made a major change. Just a year earlier, in 1965, they removed silver from circulating dimes and quarters due to rising silver prices. Before 1965, quarters were made of 90% silver, but starting in 1965 and including 1,966 quarters were now made of a clad composition. That means an outer layer of copper-nickel bonded to a pure copper core. Because of the coin shortage, the mint also made some unusual moves in 1966. For example, they produced coins without mint marks to discourage hoarding. That means if you find a 1966 quarter, it will not have a mint mark whether it was struck in Philadelphia or Denver. No mint mark at all. Now, when it comes to the total mintage, the mint produced a whopping 821 million Washington quarters in 1966. That is a massive number, which makes most 1966 quarters fairly common, but there are some rare varieties and conditions that collectors pay big money for, and that is where the story gets exciting. First, let us talk about standard circulation coins. A regular 1966 quarter that has been worn down from circulation is worth face value 25 cents. However, if you have a 1966 quarter in uncirculated condition, meaning no wear and very few marks, it could be worth between $3 to $5 today. But what about even better examples? Coins graded mint state 65 or better. Now, we are talking about values between $20 and $50 or even more, and the real jackpot comes with quarters graded mint state 67 or higher. These coins are extremely rare at auction. A 1966 quarter graded MS 67 can fetch anywhere from $1,000 to over $2,000 depending on appeal and bidding wars. In fact, one beautiful MS 67 example sold for an incredible $3,200 at a heritage auction. Now, let us dive into the most exciting part, the 1966 SMS quarter. What is SMS? It stands for Special Mint Set. Because the U.S. Mint did not issue proof coins for collectors in 1966, they offered these special sets instead. SMS quarters have a distinctive look. They are struck with extra care, giving them sharper details and a satin-like finish. They are also produced with better dies and planchets, meaning fewer marks and better luster. A 1966 SMS quarter in average condition is worth about $5 to $10, but if you have a super high-quality SMS quarter with deep cameo contrast, meaning frosty raised parts and mirror-like backgrounds, the value can skyrocket. Some of these ultra cameo examples have sold for several $100s. One top-quality SMS cameo quarter sold for nearly $1,000 at auction. Another thing to watch for is errors. There are some amazing errors among 1966 quarters: double dies, clipped planchets, off-center strikes, even missing clad layers. An error coin can easily sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the mistake and demand. One famous example is a 1966 quarter with a double die obverse where the lettering is strongly double. Collectors go crazy for these errors, and competition can drive prices way up. Alright, now let us talk briefly about current market trends. Coin collecting has seen a huge resurgence in recent years with more collectors entering the hobby. Prices for high-grade coins are stronger than ever, especially coins that are hard to find in pristine condition. If you have a 1966 Washington quarter that looks absolutely flawless under a magnifying glass, it might be worth submitting to a grading service like PCGS or NGCA. Small investment in grading could turn a common coin into a big payday. So to sum it all up, the 1966 Washington quarter is usually common and low value in worn condition, but high grade. Example: special mint set coins with cameo or ultra cameo finishes and rare errors can all be worth big money today, some reaching into the thousands of dollars. If you have got old change lying around or a box of old coins from a grandparent, it is definitely worth taking a closer look. You never know, one single quarter could turn into a major windfall. We dive deep into the world of rare coins and valuable treasures you might just have hiding in your pocket change. Today we are talking about a coin that might seem ordinary at first glance, but holds an incredible story, serious collector interest, and for some lucky finds, can be worth thousands of dollars. That is the 1965 Washington quarter dollar. Now, most of you know the Washington quarter. It has been a familiar face in American currency since 1932. Originally, these coins were struck in 90% silver. But by the mid-60s, silver prices were skyrocketing. The US government faced a real crisis. Silver was becoming too expensive for everyday coinage. People were hoarding silver coins, pulling them out of circulation as fast as they could. In response, 1965 marked a major turning point in American coinage history. For the first time, quarters were no longer made of silver. The mint shifted to a clad composition, a sandwich of copper and nickel bonded around a pure copper core. The 1965 Washington quarter was supposed to be the first clad quarter ever made. But here is where things get fascinating. During the changeover, some silver planchets were accidentally left over from 1964 and somehow got struck with 1965 dates. This means there are a few 1965 quarters that are actually struck on 90% silver blanks, not the copper nickel that was intended. These rare mistakes are incredibly valuable today. Now let's talk about the design. The obverse still features the familiar left-facing bust of George Washington, originally sculpted by John Flanagan. The word liberty appears above his head. The motto "In God We Trust" is placed to the left, and the date 1965 sits just below the neck. The reverse shows the bald eagle with outstretched wings perched on a bundle of arrows and surrounded by olive branches, symbolizing peace and strength. Because so many 1965 quarters were produced, over 1.8 billion of them, regular clad versions are very common today. If you pull one out of pocket change, it will usually be worth just face value. Maybe $1 or $2 if it is in exceptionally high mint condition. But if you happen to find one of the rare 1965 quarters struck on a silver planchet, you are looking at big money. Recently, verified silver 1965 quarters have sold at major auctions for thousands of dollars. One example graded by PCGS as 53 Australian dollars, which stands for about uncirculated 53, sold for more than $7,000. Another one, graded a little higher, fetched nearly $9,000. Even among the regular clad 1965 quarters, condition matters a lot. Collectors love coins in high grades. A 1965 quarter graded mint state 67 by PCGS or NGC, meaning it looks nearly flawless with sharp luster and no visible marks, can be worth several $100s. That is right, a regular clad quarter could fetch hundreds just because it is in perfect condition. There are also special varieties and errors that can boost the value of a 1965 quarter. Some quarters were struck on thicker planchets, causing them to appear almost double-rimmed. Others show strong doubling on the lettering or numbers, what collectors call double die varieties. Errors like off-center strikes, broad strikes without a collar, or coins with significant die cracks are always in demand and can add real value. So what should you look for if you have a 1965 quarter? First, check the weight. A regular clad quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams. A silver planchet version will weigh closer to 6.25 grams. You can use a precise scale to check this. If the weight seems heavy, it is worth having the coin tested professionally. Next, listen carefully. Silver coins have a distinctive high-pitched ring when dropped gently on a hard surface, very different from the dull sound of copper nickel. But be careful not to damage your coin. Finally, examine the edge. Clad quarters show a clearly visible copper stripe around the edge. A solid silver quarter will have a completely white or grayish edge with no visible copper. Now let's talk about the current market in 2025. Silver prices have stayed strong, and collector demand for transitional errors like the 1965 silver quarter remains intense. If you have a verified silver error quarter from 1965, depending on the condition, it could easily fetch anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 or more. Even a regular high-grade clad 1965 quarter certified by a top grading service can sell for a few $100s. Special errors, unique toning, or exceptional strike quality can push the value even higher. And remember, in coin collecting, provenance matters. If your coin comes with a strong history, a reputable grading service certification, or previous auction records, you can command even higher premiums. Before we wrap up, let me remind you that counterfeiters exist. Sadly, some people try to artificially create silver quarters by plating regular clad ones. Always buy rare coins from trusted dealers and make sure to get third-party authentication before spending big money. To summarize, the 1965 Washington quarter is more than just a pocket change relic. It represents a major turning point in U.S. history. For sharp-eyed collectors, it offers the dream of finding a true treasure, a rare silver error hiding among the billions. And even common ones, when found in top condition, can be surprisingly valuable. So the next time you get change back at the store or crack open an old coin jar, keep an eye out. You just might be holding a piece of history worth far more than 25 cents. We are diving into the fascinating world of coins, and we are focusing on one very specific but surprisingly valuable coin, the 1989 Washington quarter dollar. You heard that right. A simple quarter from 1989 might just be worth a lot more than you think. Before we jump into values and big money stories, let's take a quick look at the history behind this coin. The Washington quarter has a rich history going all the way back to 1932. It was originally created to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. Over the decades, the quarter has become a staple in American currency, and millions have passed through the hands of collectors and everyday people alike. The 1989 Washington quarter carries the Philadelphia mint mark, which is just a small P on the front side of the coin near Washington's hair ribbon. That year, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 512 million quarters. Yes, you heard that right, over 500 million. So at first glance, you might think there is no way a coin this common could be valuable. But here is where things get interesting. Not all 1989 P quarters are created equal. Some of them have mint errors. Some are in incredible mint state condition. And a rare few have unique characteristics that drive collectors absolutely wild. Let's talk about mint errors first, because they are some of the most exciting finds. Some 1989 P quarters were struck off-center. Others have double die obverse errors where the image or the lettering looks slightly doubled if you look closely. There are even a few examples where the coin was struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the metal disc intended for another denomination was used instead. These types of mistakes are rare, but when they are found, they can bring in hundreds and sometimes even thousands of dollars at auction. Another big factor in value is the coin's condition. If you find a 1989 P quarter in circulation, it is probably pretty worn down. But if you come across a coin that is in mint state condition, meaning it has no wear and still has that bright original luster, you could be holding something special. In the coin world, coins are graded on a 70-point scale called the Sheldon scale. A perfect coin is graded MS-70, while lower grades like MS-60 show minor blemishes. Most valuable 1989 P quarters are graded MS-65 and above. In fact, an MS-67 graded 1989 P quarter sold for over $1,500 at auction not too long ago. Yes, that's right. A quarter, just 25 cents, turned into over $1,500. Now let's move into today's current market. If you are just casually searching your change and you find a decent-looking 1989 P quarter, it might be worth $1 or $2 if it has minimal wear. Not bad for a coin you picked up off the street. But if you find a mint state example, especially one that is certified by a major grading company like PCGS or NGC, you are looking at a value that starts at around $25 and can easily climb to a few $100s depending on how perfect the coin is. Error coins take that value even higher. A double die example from 1989 P might sell for anywhere between $150 to $400 depending on how dramatic the doubling is and how good the condition is. Off-center errors or wrong planchet errors can bring in anywhere from $300 to over $1,000 depending on how severe the mistake is. But remember, rarity and demand always drive the price. If only a few examples of a certain error are known to exist, collectors are willing to pay big money to add one to their collection. So if you are searching through your spare change at home or you happen to collect coins, pay close attention to those 1989 P quarters. Check for errors. Look at the quality. Even a slight shine or unusual strike could mean you are holding something worth far more than 25 cents. And for those who are serious about investing in coins, submitting your best finds to be professionally graded can be a game changer. A coin that you think might be worth $10 could be worth 10 times that amount once it gets a high grade slabbed in a PCGS holder. Before we wrap up, let me give you a few quick tips on what to look for when hunting for valuable 1989 P quarters. First, always check for that strong luster. If the coin looks shiny and new, it is a good candidate. Second, look carefully at the lettering and images for any doubling. Third, if the strike seems a little off, like it's not centered perfectly or the edges are strange, it might be an off-center strike. And finally, if the coin just feels weird, like it's too light or too heavy, it might be struck on the wrong planchet. Alright friends, that brings us to the end of today's deep dive into the 1989p Washington quarter dollar. Who would have thought that a little piece of change could hide so much potential treasure? If you love coins, rare finds, and making money off your collection, you're in the right place. Today we're diving deep into one very interesting coin, the 1990p Washington quarter. You might be surprised how much some of these coins are worth today, and the history behind them is fascinating. So let's start at the beginning. The Washington quarter was first introduced way back in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. It was originally designed by John Flanagan and stayed mostly unchanged for decades. Fast forward to 1990, the U.S. Mint was pumping out millions of quarters from the Philadelphia Mint, marked by that little P you see on the front of the coin. Now here's where it gets interesting. While the 1990p Washington quarter is considered pretty common overall because they minted over 800 million of them, not all of them are created equal. Some of these coins have become incredibly valuable because of rare minting errors or exceptional conditions. And when I say valuable, I mean people have paid hundreds or even thousands of dollars for the right coin. One of the biggest things collectors look for is a coin with no mint mark. Now usually Philadelphia coins have a P mint mark. But in rare cases, a coin might have been struck without a mint mark due to a filled die error or some other minting mistake. A 1990 quarter with no mint mark and verified by a professional grading service can be worth big money. Another major factor is the coin's condition. Coins graded as MS67 or MS68 by services like PCGS or NGC can be extremely valuable. In 2020, for example, a 1990p Washington quarter graded MS67 sold for over $2,000 at auction. Imagine that. A quarter worth 25 cents face value, selling for thousands because it's practically flawless. The difference is all in the details: sharpness of the strike, no scratches, full luster, and perfect surfaces. Then there are special varieties and errors. Some 1990 quarters were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning they were accidentally minted on a blank intended for another coin like a penny or a dime. These are rare and can be worth hundreds or more. You might also find double strikes where the design appears more than once slightly offset. Those are even rarer and highly collectible. Now let's talk about the current market value. If you have a regular 1990p quarter that has been in circulation, it's probably just worth its face value, 25 cents. But if you have a coin in uncirculated condition, it could be worth between $1 and $10 depending on quality. If you find one in a near-perfect mint state, graded MS66 or MS67, you could be looking at $100 to $300. And if you're lucky enough to have one graded MS68, that's when it can cross into the thousands. And we cannot forget proof coins. Although the proofs were mainly made in San Francisco with an S mint mark, sometimes collectors confuse high-grade business strike coins with proofs. A true 1990p business strike quarter in high mint state is rarer than people think, and that's why the prices are strong for the highest grades. So what should you do if you think you have a valuable 1990p quarter? First, check the coin carefully under good lighting. Look for any minting errors, missing mint marks, doubling, or anything unusual. Then look at the overall condition. Is it shiny with no scratches? Are the details sharp and clear? If it looks promising, you might want to send it to a professional grading company like PCGS or NGC for authentication. A certified high-grade coin can fetch a much higher price on the market compared to a raw, ungraded coin. Also, watch the auctions. Prices can go up and down depending on demand. Right now in 2025, the market for high-grade modern coins is very strong because more people are getting into coin collecting thanks to social media and YouTube channels like this one. So the best time to sell a great coin could be right now. And here's a final tip. Always check your change. Seriously, you might just find a 1990p Washington quarter in your pocket worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. This happened before and it will happen again. Sometimes treasure really is hiding in plain sight. We are diving deep into the fascinating world of the 1994p Washington quarter dollar. You might think a quarter from 1994 is just pocket change, but you would be surprised how valuable some of these coins have become. Stay tuned, because we are talking about coins that could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars if you are lucky. Let us start with a little history. The Washington quarter was first introduced In 1932, to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, it was originally intended to be a one-year commemorative coin, but it became so popular that it has remained in production ever since. Now fast forward to 1994, the United States Mint in Philadelphia produced millions of these quarters marked with a small letter P on the obverse side right next to Washington's ponytail. While the majority of these coins were minted for everyday circulation, a few exceptional pieces managed to survive in near-perfect condition. What makes a 1994 P Washington quarter valuable? The key factors are condition, rarity, mint errors, and demand among collectors. For a standard circulated 1994 P quarter, its value is usually around 25 cents up to $1. However, if you find a coin in extremely high grades like mint state 65 or better, then the value can skyrocket. In fact, a 1994 P quarter graded MS67 by PCGS or NGC can fetch between $75 to $150 depending on the eye appeal. And get this, an ultra-rare 1994 P quarter graded MS68, which is almost perfect, once sold for more than $1,500 at auction. That is right, $1,500 for a quarter that you might have sitting forgotten in a drawer somewhere. But that is not all. Some error coins from 1994 are even more valuable. Collectors go wild over quarters that have off-center strikes, double dies, broad strikes, or clipped planchets. For example, a double die obverse quarter where Washington's features or the lettering appears doubled can easily sell for several $100s if it is in decent condition. Off center strikes, especially ones that are significantly misaligned, can also bring big premiums, with values ranging from $50 to several $100s depending on the severity and grade. Another important aspect is the grading of your coin. Professional grading companies like PCGS or NGC authenticate and grade coins, which can greatly increase their market value. A coin in a plastic slab with a high grade will always fetch more money than a raw, ungraded coin because buyers know exactly what they are getting. Now let us talk about the current market. In 2025, the coin collecting hobby is booming again, with more people hunting for treasures in their pocket change. High-grade 1994 P quarters are steadily rising in value due to increased demand and fewer top-grade examples being available. A certified MS66 quarter today is worth about $60 to $100, while MS67 examples are reaching up to $175 depending on auction results. Error coins continue to perform very strongly, especially rare double dies and major striking errors, which are reaching new record prices every year. So how can you find one of these valuable 1994 P quarters? First, start by checking your pocket change. Look closely at the coin under a bright light or a magnifying glass. Check for signs of doubling on the lettering or numbers. Inspect the coin for off-center strikes, unusual cuts, or odd shapes. And of course, the overall condition matters too. Coins with no scratches, dense, or heavy wear are much more desirable too. Collectors, if you think you have a valuable quarter, you might want to get it graded by a professional service before selling at auction houses. Coin dealers and online marketplaces like eBay can all be great places to sell, but remember, graded coins almost always get the best prices. Before we wrap up, let me give you a quick checklist. Number 1, look for high grades with full details. Number 2, watch out for mint errors like doubling or off-center strikes. Number 3, consider getting professional grading if you believe you have a top specimen. Number 4, stay up to date on market trends because prices do fluctuate. And number 5, never spend your old quarters without checking them first. Alright, coin hunters, that is it for today. The 1994 P Washington quarter might look ordinary, but under the right conditions it can be worth a fortune. We have a truly exciting episode lined up for you. We are diving deep into the world of Washington quarters, specifically the rare and fascinating 1999 P quarters and those historical references to 1787 on some of the most celebrated American coinage. Stay tuned because some of these coins could be worth serious, life-changing money. You do not want to miss this. The Washington quarter has been an American icon since 1932. Originally introduced to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, the design has become a lasting part of American coinage. John Flanagan's original portrait of Washington has graced the quarter for decades. But in 1999, something major happened that shook up the world of coin collectors. The big year? 1999. In 1999, the United States Mint launched the famous state quarters program. It was a revolutionary idea. Each state would be honored with a unique quarter design. Delaware kicked off the series, and collectors around the country raced to find these new coins. But not all 1999 quarters are created equal. Some, particularly the 1999 P minted in Philadelphia, have errors and rare varieties that make them extremely valuable today. The 1999 P Delaware quarter features Caesar Rodney on horseback. However, some of these coins have a very famous error known as the spitting horse variety. If you look carefully, A die crack appears from the horse's mouth, making it look like the horse is spitting. These error coins have become highly desirable. Depending on the condition and the prominence of the error, these can sell for anywhere from $50 to several $100s. Some mint state examples have even broken into the four-figure range at auction. But that is not all. Other 1999 P quarters show strong doubling, known as double dies. Doubling can appear on the words Liberty or In God We Trust. Quarters with strong, clear doubling can bring a premium price, often selling for hundreds or even thousands if graded high by services like PCGS or NGC. Now, you might be wondering, where does the year 1787 fit into all of this? Well, 1787 is the year of the U.S. Constitution and a major foundational moment in American history. Some state quarters, like Delaware and New Jersey, commemorate that connection by featuring important Revolutionary War themes. Though the coins themselves were minted in 1999, the 1787 reference ties them to America's founding story, making them even more historically significant. When it comes to value, condition is king. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, with mint state 60 and above considered collectible quality. If you have a 1999 P Delaware quarter in mint state 65 or better, especially with an error like the spitting horse, your coin could be worth a very nice premium. A perfect grade, like MS 68 or MS 69, can command prices well over $1,000 AS of 2025. The market remains strong for high-quality 1999 P quarters. Common circulated examples are worth face value, but error coins in pristine condition can easily sell for hundreds or more. Auction houses have recorded prices over $1,500 for rare double die quarters from 1999. Collectors are paying attention more than ever before because these coins represent the start of the historic state quarters program. A true turning point for modern numismatics. If you want to hunt for valuable 1999 P quarters, here is what you need to keep an eye out for. The spitting horse error, strong double dies on Liberty or In God We Trust, and coins in near-perfect uncirculated condition. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe to check your coins carefully. Sometimes even a small die crack or doubling can turn an ordinary coin into a jackpot. So next time you get some change or go through your old collection, do not overlook those 1999 P Washington quarters. That simple pocket change could turn out to be a treasure worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Coins are more than metal. They are living pieces of history, and every once in a while, they can change your life. We are diving into some fascinating history and incredible coin values that might just surprise you. We are talking about two very special coins, the 2007 P Washington quarter and the 1898 quarter dollar. Stick around because if you happen to have one of these coins, you could be holding on to something worth big money today. First, let's start with the 2007 P Washington quarter. Now, on the surface, this coin might not seem like anything special. It was minted as part of the 50 state quarters program, which started back in 1999 and wrapped up in 2008. In 2007, the United States Mint released quarters featuring Montana, Washington, Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah. The P Mint mark means it was produced in Philadelphia. But here is the thing. Some of these quarters have rare errors that make them extremely valuable to collectors. One major error to look out for is the double die strike. This happens when the coin is struck more than once, causing a doubling effect on the design elements like Washington's profile, the word Liberty, or the date. Some examples of these double die quarters have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the severity and visibility of the error. Another error to watch for is called the off-center strike. When the image on the coin is not properly centered, it creates a very unique appearance. These coins can fetch between $50 to several $100s based on how far off-center the strike is. Also, collectors are on the hunt for coins with missing clad layers. The Washington quarter is supposed to have a copper-nickel clad surface, but sometimes mistakes happen and the outer layer is missing, exposing a solid copper core. These missing clad layer errors can command big premiums at auction. Some have been known to sell for up to $1,000 or more. Now, in terms of regular 2007 P quarters without any errors, most are worth face value. However, if you have a 2007 P Washington quarter in pristine mint state condition graded MS 67 or higher by PCGS or NGC, you might be looking at $20 to $50 and even more for exceptionally high grades. One 2007 Washington quarter in mint state MS68 condition sold for over $200 at auction. So it definitely pays to check your change and look closely. Now let's shift gears and go way back in time to talk about the 1898 quarter dollar. We are talking about a coin over 120 years old. This coin is part of the Barber quarter series named after its designer Charles E. Barber, who was the chief engraver of the United States Mint at the time. The Barber quarter was minted from 1892 through 1916, and it features a classic design with Liberty wearing a cap and laurel wreath on the obverse and a heraldic eagle on the reverse. The 1898 Barber quarter was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, New Orleans, and San Francisco. If your 1898 quarter has no mint mark, it was made in Philadelphia. If it has an O mint mark, it was made in New Orleans. An S mint mark indicates it was minted in San Francisco. Now let's talk about value. Even in low grades, heavily worn 1898 quarters are worth at least $20 to $30 because of their silver content and collector demand. But if you have a coin in better condition like very fine, extremely fine, or about uncirculated, the value jumps significantly. A nice VF30 graded 1898 Barber quarter can sell for around $100. Higher grades like 50 Australian dollars can easily bring in $200 or more. And if you have a mint state example, meaning no wear at all, it gets even better. An MS63 1898 Barber quarter can be worth $700 to $1,000 depending on eye appeal and luster. Top-grade examples like MS65 or higher are extremely rare and can fetch several $1,000s at auction. Now, rare varieties and proof coins from 1898 also exist. Proof Barber quarters from 1898 were made specifically for collectors, and only about 735 were struck. These proof coins are highly prized and can range from $1,000 all the way up to $4,000 or more if certified in high grades with deep cameo contrast. Market trends today show that both 2007 era quarters and 1898 Barber quarters continue to rise in value, especially for coins in exceptional condition. Collectors are willing to pay a premium for well-preserved examples because high-quality vintage coins are becoming harder to find as time goes on. So if you have any of these coins, whether tucked away in your drawer, pocket change coin, roll hunting finds, or part of an inherited collection, make sure you check them carefully. Every little detail counts. Look for mint marks. Examine for errors. And always consider getting your coins professionally graded if you suspect you have something special. Alright everyone, that wraps up today's deep dive into the 2007 Washington quarter and the 1898 Barber quarter dollar. Both coins offer exciting opportunities for collectors and treasure hunters alike. You never know what hidden gems you might find. We are diving deep into the 2015 Washington quarter dollar coin. A small piece of metal that some lucky people have sold for hundreds and even thousands of dollars. So make sure you watch this video all the way to the end because you do not want to miss the details that could make you some serious money. First, let's talk about the background. The Washington quarter has been around since 1932, celebrating the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Over the decades, the design has changed several times, but Washington's bust has remained on the obverse side. Fast forward to 2015, and we have the America the Beautiful Quarters program still in full swing. This program started in 2010 and featured different national parks and sites from each state and territory. In 2015, the Philadelphia Mint produced a huge number of quarters. Over 866 million quarters were struck with the P Mint mark in 2015 alone. The designs for the year included Homestead in Nebraska, Kisatchie National Forest in Louisiana, Blue Ridge Parkway in North Carolina, Bombay, Hook National Wildlife Refuge in Delaware, and Saratoga National Historical Park in New York. Each design was produced in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. Now you might be thinking, with hundreds of millions made, how could any 2015 quarter be valuable? Here is where it gets interesting. The real money comes from rare errors, high grades, and specific varieties. Not every 2015 quarter is worth big bucks, but the ones that are can be worth a small fortune. Let's start with mint errors. Some 2015 Washington quarters have dramatic errors like off-center strikes, double strikes, broad strikes, missing clad layers, and die cracks. For example, a 2015 Homestead quarter with an extremely dramatic double die error showing extra water pumps can sell for hundreds of dollars. Coins missing their clad layers, exposing the copper core, are another very valuable error. A missing clad quarter can easily fetch between $200 and $400 depending on the condition. Another error to look out for is called a spitting horse error, found on the Blue Ridge Parkway quarter. This error shows what looks like a line of spit coming out of the horse's mouth caused by a die crack. Coins with this type of error have sold for over $100 in circulated condition and much more if found in mint state. Now let's talk about high grades. In coin collecting, condition is everything. A 2015 P quarter graded MS67 by PCGS or NGC can sell for a premium. MS67 means mint state coin with almost no flaws visible even under magnification. Some 2015 P quarters in MS67 condition have sold for $250 to $450 depending on the specific design. MS68 examples are extremely rare and can command prices of over $1,000. If you want to find a valuable 2015 P quarter, here is what you should do. First, check for any unusual features like doubling, extra design elements, missing layers, or major cracks. Use a good magnifying glass or coin microscope. Next, if you believe you have a high-grade coin with sharp details, no scratches, no nicks, and full original luster, then consider getting it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. A certified high grade can skyrocket the coin's value. Now let's move on to some real auction results to show you just how much these coins are worth right now. A 2015 P Homestead quarter with a strong double die obverse graded MS66 by PCGS recently sold for $480 at auction. Another example, a 2015 P Blue Ridge Parkway quarter graded MS68 sold for an impressive $1,700. These are not isolated cases. Serious collectors are hunting for high-grade and error varieties of modern quarters, and they are willing to pay big money for them. Besides individual coins, complete 2015 P sets in high-grade can also be valuable. A full set of all 2015 P America the Beautiful quarters in MS67 or higher can sell for several $100s, sometimes even over $1,000 depending on the grades and certification. Now, what about the future? The 2015 P Washington quarters are still relatively young, but the best examples are expected to keep increasing in value as time goes on. Especially coins with major errors or those graded MS68 or higher are very desirable. As more and more coins from circulation get damaged or lost, the number of pristine high-grade examples keeps shrinking. That simple law of supply and demand will make the best examples even more valuable. So, to summarize, if you have a 2015 P Washington quarter, do not overlook it. Check for errors such as double dies, die cracks, missing clad layers, and off-center strikes. Look closely at the condition. High-grade coins without wear marks are gold mines waiting to be discovered. Always consider professional grading if you believe you have a standout coin. If you love coins, treasure hunting, and learning about hidden gems in your pocket change, you are going to want to stick around, because today we are talking about the 2016 P Washington $quarter coin. And trust me, you are going to be amazed at how much some of these coins are worth right now. Let us dive right in. The 2016 P Washington quarter is part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program. This program ran from 2010 to 2021 and honored national parks and historic sites across the United States. The 2016 series featured 5 beautiful designs, including Shawnee National Forest in Illinois, Cumberland Gap National Historical Park in Kentucky, Harpers Ferry National Historical Park in West Virginia, Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota, and Fort Moultrie at Fort Sumter in South Carolina. Today, we are focusing specifically on the 2016 P quarters. That P Mint mark stands for Philadelphia Mint, where these coins were struck. Now, you might be thinking, how rare could a 2016 coin really be? After all, millions were made. You are not wrong. However, condition, errors, and varieties are what really make some of these quarters skyrocket in value. First up, let us talk about high-grade 2016 P quarters. Coins that have been graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC and have received a high mint state grade, usually MS67 or MS68, can be worth a lot of money. Finding a quarter in circulation that is still in mint state condition is very hard because coins get scratched and worn so easily. A 2016 P Shawnee National Forest quarter graded MS68 sold for over $1,000 at auction. Imagine finding one of those in your change. Now let us move on to errors. Error coins are a huge deal in the coin collecting world. They are unique and rare, and collectors are willing to pay top dollar for them. Some of the most common errors found on the 2016 P Washington quarters include double die errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, and missing clad layers. A double die error happens when the coin is struck more than once with slightly different impressions. This can make the letters or designs look doubled and can be very valuable. Some 2016 P quarters with strong doubling on the obverse side, that is the front where George Washington's portrait is, have sold for hundreds of dollars depending on how visible the doubling is. Another exciting error to watch for is off-center strikes. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned during striking and part of the design is missing. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin becomes. If you find a 2016 P quarter that is about 50% off-center with a full date showing, it could easily bring $200 to $300 or more. Die cracks and cuds are another type of error to keep an eye out for. A die crack looks like a raised line across the coin, and it happens when the die used to strike the coin develops a crack. A cud is a raised blob of metal where part of the die broke off completely. Some 2016 P quarters with dramatic die cracks or cuds have sold for $50 to $100 depending on size and location. Missing clad layers are also highly collectible. A normal Washington quarter has a copper core and a copper-nickel outer layer. Sometimes during minting the outer layer is missing on one or both sides, leaving a quarter that looks brown or coppery like a penny. A 2016 P quarter missing a clad layer can easily be worth $150 or more. Now, let us talk about the current market. As of this year, 2025, the demand for modern era coins and high-grade modern coins is very strong. Collectors are looking to complete their America the Beautiful sets in the highest possible grades, and they are paying serious money for them. This means if you have a 2016 P quarter in MS67 or better, or if you have an eye-catching era coin, you have something special in your hands. If you are wondering how to tell if your 2016 P quarter is valuable, here are a few quick tips. First, check the overall condition. If it looks almost perfect with no scratches, dings, or wear, you might have a high-grade coin. Second, use a magnifying glass to check for doubling on the letters and numbers. Third, look carefully for any strange marks, missing parts of the design, or unusual textures that could signal an error. Also remember, professional grading can greatly increase the value of your coin if it is truly high quality or has a major error. Grading companies charge a fee, so it is usually worth it only if the coin has a high potential value. And finally, I want to say this: always check your change. You never know when a common-looking coin could be a rare treasure. The 2016 P Washington quarter is a perfect example. Millions of people handle these coins every day without realizing that one could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, so there you have it. The story of the 2016 P Washington quarter. From everyday change to auction block superstar. Keep hunting, stay curious, and never underestimate the power of a simple quarter. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more coin news and hidden gems, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. Let me know in the comments if you have ever found a valuable coin. I would love to hear your stories. See you next time and happy collecting.